There is no question that cancer is on the rise, and in a very scary way, because more and more younger people are developing cancer with very aggressive cancers that we didn't used to see 15 years ago. Right now in the hospital, more than half of our patients are 40 years or younger, whereas before it used to be 60 years or older, and with a lot more aggressive cancers.
From day one, I wish I knew about Oasis of Hope straight away and that I didn't have to go searching. I could listen to people who have already been on this journey to know that stage 4, any cancer, is not a death sentence. It is a bad cell that needs to be turned good. I want people to know that there isn't just this one way. Finding the right medical team, as I wouldn't be alive today without you, Dr. Contreras, and I'm so grateful for that.
Hi, friends. Welcome to the New Normal Big Life podcast. We bring you natural and integrative health information and stories about nature that we hope will inspire you to get outside and adventure, along with a step-by-step plan to help you practice what you've learned to create your own new normal and live the biggest life you can dream. I'm your host, Antoinette Barafato, the Wellness Warrior. Let's get into today's topic. Wellness Warriors, we're doing something a little bit different today because I'm wearing two hats. One as the host of New Normal Big Life podcast, and the other as the health and wellness columnist for Cultures magazine, a global lifestyle publication for people who live in between cultures, where 1.5 million readers across 200 countries will dive into this conversation in print and digital. But here's my promise to you. If you or someone you love has ever wondered about cancer genes, cancer prevention, cancer diagnosis, or what it would be like to travel abroad for cancer treatment, my two guests are going to walk you through exactly what to expect and why thousands of international patients chose Oasis of Hope as their destination for healing. So let's get into it. Welcome to New Normal, Dr. Contreras. Why don't you tell us who you are, what you do, and the one big thing you want listeners to remember today?
Well, first of all, Antoinette, thank you very much for inviting me, and thank you, Emma, for joining us. This is very exciting for me to talk about, especially what's been going on with Emma, which is a great miracle. I'm a surgical oncologist, and I am the director of the Oasis of Hope Hospital, which was founded by my father in 1963. My father was also an oncologist, and I was blessed to work with him for many years before he passed. And now I'm taking his legacy to the next step. And we already have the next generation with my daughter and son-in-law that are going to take care of this. And the Oasis of Hope is a holistic hospital that takes care not only of the physical needs of our patients, but also the emotional and spiritual needs. And we treat our patients in an integrative way. That is, we have everything available on the conventional and just about everything available on the alternative side. And based on our experience, we're going to be choosing the pieces of the puzzle that are the perfect fit for the needs of our patients. And we make a decision on what to give to our patients on two philosophical principles. The first one is what the father of medicine said, first do no harm. And so we are only going to provide therapies of whatever kind to our patients if that therapy is going to improve their quality of life. And the second one was stated by Jesus, love your patient as you love yourself. That's what we say as doctors. And what that means is that I will never give to a patient something that I myself would not take or that I wouldn't give to my daughter or to my wife. And so that makes a tremendous difference. And by the way, I love my wife very much. So it makes a tremendous difference when you take those things into consideration on what is it that you're going to offer. Because I don't know if you know this, but most treatments in the conventional realm for cancer are very devastating, and most oncologists never take it. They provide this to their patients, but when they are suffering from cancer, they rarely take the treatments that they recommend. And this has been proven in many polls that have been taken over time. So that is, in a nutshell, what the Oasis of Hope is and what our mission is to provide care holistically with the best possible therapy for our patients.
Wow, incredible. I cannot wait to unpack this, Dr. Contreras. Emma Victoria Johnson, welcome to New Normal Big Life. Why don't you tell us who you are, what you do, and the one big thing you want listeners to remember today?
Well, firstly,
Well,
good
thank
morning
you.
from Australia. Jeanette and Dr. Contreras, it's lovely to see you both this morning. I am a stage 4 cancer survivor. I am a patient of Dr. Contreras. I'm almost cancer free. I've been on this journey for just over a year now. No chemo, no radiation, no surgery. And I am now an ambassador for Oasis of Hope, because we need to get the word out there that there is a different way to cure cancer, and that is not killing your body with chemo. There is hope. It is not a stage 4 cancer isn't a death sentence. It isn't your written destiny. And I'm here to provide a hope to people who are seeking alternative routes. And I just encourage anybody out there who has been diagnosed to look at other alternatives. The chemo radiation isn't always the way. Like, nowadays, there are so many different things. The traditional medicine route isn't always the best way. And that's why I'm here today, to help people understand that there is another route.
Beautiful. Emma, take us to the moment you were diagnosed. What were the early signs and how did your life change after that day?
Honestly, I had no signs whatsoever. I didn't feel sick. I didn't look sick. I actually went to the gym and hurt myself and got checked and found a lump. Which was really small at the time. This was December 2024. It took about 7 weeks for me to get into a clinic to actually get it checked. I got a mammogram and an ultrasound. And the ultrasound they did believe that it was cancer at the time. But I actually was like stage 1, stage 2. This was January. By February, by the time I got it biopsied, it had grown in that space of time after the biopsy. 6 weeks later, I was stage 4. It had gone into my lymph nodes and into my liver. So in December, it was actually a pea size. And by March, it was 9.5 centimeters. So cancer waits for no one. And it can grow really fast. And I do believe all the testing that I had done did make it grow, prodding with cells. And I had 3 biopsies at the time, because they missed it the first 2 times. So I do believe all my testing did make it grow. Look, being told that I had a death sentence hanging over my head, my world collapsed. I refused to believe it. I refused to believe the oncologist in Australia when he told me that I had 3 months to live without taking the tablets that he provided. I actually sacked him and said, I don't believe you. I'm not ready to die. I'm not willing to die. So I went on this crazy journey to find hope and help. And I've clearly watched way too many movies to find a secret. I was looking for some sort of secret bunker somewhere in like Switzerland or Iceland or somewhere around the world. I got to Oasis and they've saved my life.
Wow, incredible. Dr. Contreras, Emma alluded to something that I have been seeing in the research. Are there any thoughts about, the palpation of the lump and constant radiation, getting the exams? What are the thoughts out there?
Well, Emma's case is a little bit different than most because she developed this very explosive and very, very aggressive malignancy that grew in a very short time. That is not common, okay? For most breast cancers, they take a long time to grow, and patients usually have more time to make decisions. I think that in this case, it was a blessing because, the information was so dire that it provoked in Emma the need to search for something else, because that, what was offered was not the answer for her. But it's not normal for a tumor to be so aggressive and to grow so fast. And that's why I feel that she's been, touched by God, because we're good, but her results are much better than the norm. She's responding really well. She still has tumor activity, but the fact that that the tumors are coming down when they were growing so fast is very, very encouraging to us and obviously to her. So prevention is a lot of times confused by early detection. They're not the same thing, right? When you detect early, it's not a bad thing, but you're not preventing anything. And the idea of doing mammograms for prevention is not the correct thing to I think that there's a lot of things that we all can do to reduce the risk of developing cancer, and lifestyle is the most effective way to do that. So our diet plays a big role, but Emma was doing a lot of those things as well. Exercise usually reduces the risk of developing cancer by 50%. It's very clear to me that if she was not so dedicated to exercising and a good lifestyle, she would have developed the tumor maybe 10 or 15 years earlier. Um, so it varies for everybody, but generally, if we have a good lifestyle with a good diet and do exercise, we will reduce the risk of developing cancer significantly. And the other thing is our mental and emotional status, because our emotions can devastate our immune system in a very short time. So depression, anger, resentment, all of these things that we suffer, most of us, have something to be disturbed about, and that will destroy our immune system. So if you are spiritually strong, your emotional responses are going to be conducive to immune stimulation. So one of the verses in the Bible that is very difficult to understand, it says, all things work together for good. Emma is just a picture of that. She's just so positive about everything. And she will, it's like a contagion when you're with her. All you can do is just be positive. And I really believe that it's because of that she's responding so well, because her immune system is just being constantly inundated with positive thoughts, that it's working for her in a very positive way. So a good attitude, a good diet, and exercise would be my recommendation for all of your audience to reduce the risk of developing cancer.
And when you talk about diet, what are some of the things that people should include in their diet and things that they should not have in their diet? And, hearing you say that lifestyle plays a big role is not unfamiliar to wellness warriors, because we've had many MDs come on and say 90 to 98% of your health outcomes are based on your lifestyle choices.
Correct. So I'm going to give you an advice that it's easy for just about everybody to follow, and that has been tested widely. There's about 100 published papers in the medical journals that show that people that consume 5 portions of vegetables and fruits a day will reduce their risk of developing cancer by 50%, even if they make no changes in their diet. So imagine if on top of eating those 5 portions of fruits and vegetables, you get rid of the junk. What is a portion? A portion is what fits in a measuring cup in the kitchen. It's not a lot if you get rid of the junk, and we all know what junk is. Nobody needs an explanation. Well, you are going to fare much better. How much exercise? It's 4 hours a week. So if you briskly walk for a half an hour a day, you are complying with that. And so the studies, and there's about 70 studies published on exercise in prevention of cancer, and they all show in different percentages how beneficial exercise is. The more you do, the more it protects you. So those are 2 easy things that most of us can do. And you are going to responsibly be reducing not only the incidence of cancer, or heart disease, arthritis, any chronic disease, you are going to reduce the risk of that. And that's not too complicated. The more you do, the better it is. But, life is complicated. Not everybody is that motivated. But as I tell you, those 2 things that I'm mentioning are not difficult to do.
Right. And Emma, after your diagnosis, what treatment options were presented to you and what made you look for something different?
So here in Australia, the medical team, they offered me 18 months to live with 2 chemo tablets. Pretty much it would just keep the cancer in place and the tablets would stop working in the end and I would die. And they had about 20,000 side effects, which I was like, well, that doesn't sound like living for 18 months. So then they said to me, if I didn't take the tablets, I would die within 3 months. So I refused the tablets and came home and decided to search for a different route. Now, I'm not, calling chemo or doctors or any other radiation. I know a lot of people go down that path. But I meet a lot of people that try that first and they get cancer free. And because it's destroyed their body afterwards, the cancer comes back and then they end up on the other route. So for me, luckily, I do believe God put me in this path of that was my only option here. At the time, it felt like a death sentence and I refused to believe it. Like Dr. Contreras said, I am so positive. I've got this resilient mindset where I just think I can do anything in life. And I switched it round and thought, I'm going to prove you wrong. So that gave me determination. And then I wanted to do it for everybody else out there who's ever been given the death sentence. Because I was like, they don't give it to you nicely. They don't sugarcoat it. They just give it to you like they're ordering dinner. It wasn't and I think that made me angry as well. That sent me looking for another route of how to cure my body. I had heard about sugar feeding cancer, stress, trauma, lack of sleep. At the time, I was running a business. I was working 14-hour days. I do believe my cancer grew with, stress of my lifestyle and obviously the news that I had. And I do believe God made me stage 4 uncurable in Australia to send me on this path. And I'm so grateful for that now. I look back at my journey and I'm so grateful that I found Oasis and Dr. Contreras, because I believe if I'd have done what their medics had said here, I'd be dead today. I don't believe I'd
Wow.
be here anymore. I believe I would have been ill off the tablets and I wouldn't be living.
And how did you find Oasis of Hope? And when was the moment that you knew this is the place I need to be?
Honestly got recommended through a friend of mine. And within 2 weeks, I had a video call with the doctors. I was literally there within 14 days. Honestly, it was the moment I met Dr. Contreras 2 days after arriving that I knew he was going to get me well. I knew the positivity from him, the talking about it. He wasn't looking at me like I was a death sentence on my head. He talked to me about my body and what we can do, the journey. Day 2, when I sat down in that consultation room, I was thinking, I'm going to stay alive and I'm going to get cured. And ever
Wow.
since then, my cancer has been dying and going and disappearing. We're nearly at the finish line.
That's beautiful. And can you walk us through what you expected cancer treatment to feel like versus what it was in reality at Oasis of Hope?
Expecting some prayers in the forest and walking on the grass and drinking some green juices, as you see in these movies and stuff. Look, you go in there, you are filling your body with IVs, you are jumping into treatments, you are learning how to live with cancer. We have cooking classes. You learn how to eat properly. You are taught education on stage every single day. It was harder mentally than I thought. For the first few days getting there, it's a lot to take. But honestly, after day 7, I turn into a superhuman. I'm like, I feel amazing. I look amazing. After the treatments and the IVs I've done, my body becomes to this fighting machine. And then when we get the cancer vaccines, I'm just so grateful that I know that is killing the cancer in my body. And all the people at the clinic, all the patients, everyone is smiling. You go into a cancer clinic and everybody is happy. We're all like family. We're all talking to each other in the IV rooms. The nurses, the doctors, everybody is wonderful. It is like a miracle safe haven place.
Wow, it sounds incredible. And one thing people notice in your story is how you carried yourself throughout treatment. So, from your lived experience, not as a medical claim, but as your truth, how did you feel physically, emotionally, and spiritually during treatment?
Look, there's not often that I don't have I'm positive 24/7 mainly. Every now and then I do have a breakdown and I'm only human, and that breakdown is either I'm so grateful for where I'm at, or sometimes I can feel a bit lonely, or I can be upset if someone else is upset. Through treatment, I'm like, put that needle in and let's get going. I just have this super crazy positive attitude. You can put me through anything and I'll never say no. But there are times alone that I do sometimes, have emotional thoughts, and the devil sometimes can creep into the mind, and I accept that and I turn to God and I bounce back. I give myself a slap and I'm like, Emma, let's go. Put my superhuman warrior back on. Let's go.
And, for the person who's at home and they're listening and they've just received this diagnosis and they're understandably terrified, what would you tell them that you wish you knew from day one?
From day one, I wish I knew about Oasis of Hope straight away, and that I didn't have to go searching, and that I could listen to people who have already been on this journey to know that stage 4, any cancer, is not a death sentence. It is a bad cell that needs to be turned good. Your body needs to be put into an alkaline diet. You need to look after yourself. You need sleep. I want people to know out there that there isn't just this one way of going down chemo and destroying your whole body. And I know it's a scary journey. It is a dark path, and I've been there, but there is a light at the tunnel. positivity, looking after yourself, sleep, the right diet, finding the right medical team as I did, Dr. Contreras. I wouldn't be alive today without you, Dr. Contreras, and I'm so grateful for that. I just want people to know don't be scared. I know it's scary, but don't be scared.
Thank you for that. I'm sure it's going to give a lot of people comfort right now. And Dr. Contreras, Oasis of Hope was founded by your father. What was the vision that launched this hospital? And how has this cancer treatment philosophy evolved under your leadership?
Well, I think Emma stated it very well. We've been criticized forever for selling false hope. And my question has always been, if I'm selling false hope, what is true hope? You're dead? The truth is that there's only hope or no hope. And hope is
Right.
extremely powerful. If you look at all the clinical trials that have been done over time, in about 70% to 80% of the results are better in the patients that took the placebo.
Wow.
Imagine that. So we should be looking at the placebo. And what is the placebo? Is the power of the mind. So I unashamedly brainwash my patients to positive thinking. You're going to spend the same emotional energy on being depressed than on thinking, hey, I have a chance to survive. And Emma just stated very clearly, then cancer does not need to be a death sentence. We have patients like Hare that were told that we're going to die in 3 to 6 months. 20 years later, they're still alive. Maybe they're not cured, because if we take x-rays, the tumors may be there, but the patient then couldn't care less because they have quality of life and they outlive their prognosis for many, many years. So to us, the reason why we're called the Oasis of Hope is because we believe that hope is extremely powerful. And it is. And so that's why we've created an ambience at the hospital that is very, very positive and friendly. And no matter how things look, we're happy. And we're going to move forward with the hope that God will give us a miracle. And all
Wow, that's beautiful.
instances, they're miracles, and miracles come in many forms, but we're always expecting a miracle for our patients. And I think this is, very important. And in most cancer centers, everything is gloom and doom. When the patient asks the doctor, well, doctor, what should my diet be? What should I do? And the doctor says, don't worry, eat whatever you want. The interpretation is, I'm dead. And the doctor just wants me to, to enjoy whatever few days are left for me. And so I believe that the way you provide information to a patient is very important. I mean, not just a patient, for everybody, right? Is
Right.
not the information that is bad, is how you give it. But everything is just so negative. So for us, cancer is not a death sentence, and we're going to fight for life until the last minute. God is going to decide. So we do the possible and we let God do the impossible. But we're going to be positive about it.
Since January, I've been to the clinic. I've met other patients there, and there are 6 of them in the last 6 months cancer free. And I'm like, wow. First of all, I'm like, okay, I'm next. But 6 people that I've met, and they were stage 4.
Incredible.
There's hope for people too. Dr. Contreras has cured these people that I've met. There's a lot of patients that I meet at the clinic who are already cancer free. It works.
And most people only know one path, Dr. Contreras: surgery, chemotherapy, radiation. How is Oasis of Hope's integrative approach fundamentally different, not just in what you do, but in how you view your patients and your care?
Well, most of the patients, in comparison to Emma, come to us when they've hit the wall already, when they already took the chemotherapy, the radiation, the surgery, and they were virtually sent home to die. And so those patients are already looking and seeking an alternative because the conventional therapy failed them. It's interesting that, doctors said, you failed chemotherapy. No, chemotherapy failed you. In patients like Emma that come to us virgin to treatment, where they decided not to take the conventional, we are going to talk very openly about the possibilities of conventional therapy, how it could help. If a patient is a good candidate for conventional, we're not afraid to offer that, because there are some patients that are benefited with conventional therapy. And in many cases, we're going to do a combination of therapies. And when we use conventional therapies, we use them in a very limited way, because again, as I told you, we're never going to give any therapy that is not going to improve the quality of life. So the dosages that we use are less. The impact of conventional therapy, when you combine it with alternative methods, is dampened, meaning the patients are going to tolerate it better and have better results. We have everything available, and we're going to offer our patients what we know, according to our experience, is going to be the best for them, be it conventional or not. Or if I feel that a patient needs surgery, we are capable of doing any type of surgery for our patients. But the main thing is that we have hope and that we believe that we're going to fight for life, that we're negotiating for life until the end, until God decides different.
And when I was doing my research, one of the most talked about aspects of Oasis of Hope is how patients feel during treatment. They talk about more energy than expected, less nausea than with other treatments, and a sense of dignity. What is that about? How can you manage this in your facility where they didn't experience that in other treatments?
Well, you mentioned a word that's very powerful: dignity. I think that when you treat a patient not as a number, and when you are emotionally vested, because we're taught in medical school to detach ourselves emotionally from our patients. And I think that's the wrong thing, because the patient will notice immediately if you are really interested or if you're just going through the motions. So I think that we treat our patients with dignity by letting them know exactly what we're going to do, and that we are truly interested in evaluating the therapies and making whatever changes we need to do depending on the results. I've never thought of it that way, but I think that's giving the patient dignity, that we are emotionally vested. And I think that's very important for a patient. Thank you for mentioning that.
Absolutely. It came through in what patients were saying and family members were saying, so I thought I would bring it up. So, if we go back for a moment to before the diagnosis, if someone is carrying the gene for cancer right now, what flips that switch on and what keeps that switch turned off? We talked about lifestyle, but is there anything more that you can tell us?
Well, I think that information is probably the next best thing. Unfortunately, now there is so much confusing information on both sides that it's difficult for the patients to make an intelligent decision when they're looking. I've written several books, but the last book is called The Art and Science of Undermining Cancer. And I give information about all of the therapies, conventional and non-conventional, so that patients can have both sides of the aisles, so to say, and so that they can make an intelligent decision of what is best for them. And you can obtain this book for free if you visit our website, oasisofhope.com. You can buy it on Amazon, and I think there's in other places, but there's no need to pay any money for them. And I think that this type of information where you put all the cards on the table, because what a patient believes makes a big difference, right?
Yes.
And so a patient may feel, right now surgery is the best thing. I feel that surgery is the best thing. I'm going to be open to that. Or chemotherapy or radiation therapy. Or like Emma, she was convinced that chemotherapy was not for her, right? And
Mhm.
it plays a role in how those things are going to affect your body. And so I want patients to be convinced that what they're taking is the best for them. And there's no better way of helping a patient make that decision than when you give the information correctly, so that the patients can make choices, because we're defined by our choices. And
Right.
especially when your life is being threatened and your choices have an impact on time, and there's windows of opportunity for things, that you make the best choice based on your beliefs, how you know your body, because you're going to know your body better than any doctor, and how a treatment may affect you. So, and Emma was talking about that we have all these lectures for our patients. We want to provide information so that a patient can make a correct choice for them. And each patient is different. So do believe that in that sense, we treat our patients with dignity, because we want to guide them to make their own choice. It's not my way or the highway ever in the hospital, ever.
Wow. That's very refreshing. I've had doctors try to force their treatment protocols on me. And when I respectfully say, I'd like to do some research before I make a decision, they push back in a very angry way. And that's a very uncomfortable feeling. So to
Correct.
hear that you don't do that is so refreshing.
I think that's always a wrong approach. If you're having a team, well, you want to know what the team thinks. If you're playing baseball or basketball or whatever, it's a team sport, and everybody has to put a piece of the information that is going to be best for everybody. So I always see my patient as a team member. I have experience, but the patient knows much better about their body and how they think than I. And so we're going to work together to get the best outcome.
And Emma, how did that make you feel as a patient to have all of this information and to feel like you were a partner with your healthcare team?
Honestly, I think I didn't feel like I was just a number on a board and, being sold the same script or told the same thing as the next person, which obviously I got here in Australia. I felt like I was part of the family, felt like I was part of the team, part of the family. I could put my view across and listen to what Dr. Contreras had to say. I believe that, everyone's lifestyles are different to what people pick and choose of what they want to do. I did say to Dr. Contreras, do everything to me. I want to be cancer free. I'm like, give me more. I'm going back in 3 weeks and I cannot wait to see everybody. Like, I'm going back to a cancer hospital and I cannot wait to see everyone. Like, that sounds crazy. Most people are going getting chemo and are dreading going back to hospital. I'm excited to get on that plane and see everybody. I feel fitter now than when I was in my 20s. I am more energy, more positive. I appreciate life so much more. I'm grateful every day I wake up. I'm a completely different person to who I was 18 months ago. And that is due to the clinic, how I've been treated, the tools I've been given, the body that I've been given now through Oasis, and I'm just forever grateful.
Emma, I
Wow.
thought that you were 19.
I'm 19. Somebody asked me the other day and I told them I was 28 and she said, no, you're not, you're 42. And I was like, oh, I keep lying about my age.
It's funny. And Dr. Contreras, when I was reviewing the research, I have to ask this question. Are cancer diagnoses on the rise or am I mistaken? And what beyond genetics could be causing this?
There is no question that cancer is on the rise, and in a very scary way, because more and more younger people are developing cancer with very aggressive cancers that we didn't used to see 15 years ago. Right now in the hospital, more than half of our patients are 40 years or younger, whereas before it used to be 60 years or older. And with a lot more aggressive cancers. I don't know if you've ever heard, but there's a new term in cancer, the turbo cancers.
Turbo.
Yeah,
Uh,
turbo cancer.
and it is very concerning to me. There's many factors that can be causing this, but I do believe that since COVID, since the disease and the vaccines and all of that, we've seen very, very young people develop very aggressive cancers. There's no way to say that that's the cause, but there's a definite relationship between these medications. They call them vaccines, but they were not vaccines in some of these new malignancies. And also, I noticed a lot in many of our patients that were completely stable, tumor free, and they had the vaccine and the tumor just reappeared. And it was more
Wow.
difficult to treat them after that. So there's no question that our environment is getting more and more contaminated, that the industry is putting more and more preservatives in foods, and that all of these things are playing a role now, especially women, young women like Emma that do a lot of exercise. Now, these new clothing materials that are disrupting the hormones of women. It's just terrible that we're putting all of these menaces to young people. And so I hope that they become aware and that the industry becomes aware. At least I feel that in America with this new administration, that they're really trying to reduce the amount of preservatives in foods. And I
Right.
hope that they also reduce the amount of chemicals in the clothing, especially sports or exercise clothing that are disrupting the hormones of men and women, but it's affecting more the women than the men.
Yes, I was just reading about the endocrine disruptive toxic materials that are in spandex type
Yes.
of athletic wear. And yes, that's very disturbing. And, when I was doing some research, a lot of people are talking about the pathogens that live inside our bodies. So the toxic ingredients from food and materials and environment, mold, viruses, parasites, bacteria, fungi, and that all of these things are creating this soup of inflammation, including leaky gut syndrome or increased intestinal permeability, and that all of these pathogens working together is what might be creating more incidence and diagnosis of cancer. What are your thoughts about that?
Yes, I believe that you're absolutely right in looking into that. And that's precisely one of the things that I was talking about. But lastly, everything comes down to the immune system because we all know people that smoke all their lives, don't eat vegetables, right? They're 100 years old
And
and
cancer
they're
free, right?
perfectly healthy.
And they drink Coca-Cola and they're cancer free.
Right. My mother-in-law died at 97, okay? And she died last month, 97 years old, peacefully on her bed. The last time she
Beautiful.
drank water was 1957. That's when Coca-Cola came to Mexico. Since then, she never drank water anymore. Her
Wow.
idea of vegetables was French fries. And yet, 97, no cancer, no heart disease, nothing. So everything boils down to the immune system. And all of the things that you mentioned are distractors. So we are not all born with such a strong immune system as my mother-in-law. And so we have to take care of it. And the more distractors there are of the immune system, they're distracting from protecting you, like chemicals and all of those things. Well, the higher your possibility of developing cancer. That's why to us, the most important and potent therapy that we give is immune therapy. And it's based on dendritic cells. And so we call it IMPACT, which stands for Immune Personalized Autologous Cell Therapy. We use the patient's immune system and we create in our laboratory an immunological anti-tumor task force and to be very, very effective in helping our patients. So we live in this very aggressive environment against us. The more things you do to help your immune system, the better you are going to fare. When I found out that 8,000 chemicals were in my clothes that were affecting my health, I went naked. That's a bit too much. So there's a point where you have to say, enough. I'm doing enough and I'm going to enjoy life. So, yes, you have to be responsible. But on the other hand, you have to relax and say, I am being responsible. I am doing the best I can. And now this is a beautiful day and I am going to enjoy it. And it's a big part of boosting your immune system as well.
Mhm.
But when you think about all of these elements that are provoking cancer, it all has to do with your immune system. So if you fortify your immune system is the best thing that you can do. And emotionally is probably the best way to strengthen your immune system because we react to life emotionally to everything. And the stronger you are spiritually, the more functional your emotions are going to be. Emotions are not positive or negative. They're functional or dysfunctional, right? So you can be angry that somebody does not have food. Well, if you're spiritually strong, you're going to convert that into a functional anger and either provide food or resolve the issue of why those people are not getting food. That's why all things can come together for good, right? Before Emma had cancer, she didn't know that she could do so many things that are good for her and for others. So cancer has helped her be a better person and be a better patient. And why? Because she's spiritually strong and she has converted that into a functional part of her life. And so that's part of our training and converting our patients from victims into victors.
Mhm.
And so the better your emotional reactions, the better your immune system is going to be. And so everything has to do with the immune system. And that's why about 80% of our efforts in helping patients have to do with immune stimulation.
Hey, Wellness Warriors, if you're looking to step up your hydration game or you're fighting off a pathogen right now, I want to tell you about my favorite electrolyte. It's called Revive Immunolite Electrolyte Drink by Dr. Stella MD. This is a doctor formulated electrolyte powder. You can wake up to a cold glass of Revive to get energy, hydration, and your daily vitamins and minerals all in one tasty drink. And I love the to go. This comprehensive dietary supplement is a carefully crafted blend of vitamins, minerals, and proprietary formulas designed to support overall health and well-being. Packed with essential nutrients, antioxidant, and specific herbal extracts, this supplement aims to enhance immune function, promote heart health, and provide a natural energy boost with a focus on delivering key vitamins and minerals at optimum levels. And I use it on a daily basis. I especially recommend it to friends and family when they're feeling a little under the weather. Get yours today using my affiliate link and NNBL for 5% off. So, Wellness Warriors, you heard us. Boost your immune system. And what have I always told you? Zinc and quercetin, because you need an ionophore to get the zinc into your cells. So that's my secret weapon, and lots of other things for boosting my immune system. And then the nervous system regulation. I've been harping on that with you lately about your nervous system regulation and how important it is for your good health. So there are maybe 5 or 6 episodes that can address those two issues for you. So make sure you catch those. And Dr. Contreras and Emma, 5 minutes after I met you, what did I say? You are a ray of sunshine.
You did.
I mean, it just radiates from you.
Thank you. Thank you. Look, this
Thank
journey
you.
has made me into this, I feel like I'm a different person. I used to be so stressed and work too much, and I just think I was unhappy, and I didn't realize until, I got diagnosed and changed my life, and now I dance around my house and smile every day.
That's wonderful. And so between patients who thrive and the patients who don't, Dr. Contreras, is there a common thread? Is it a mindset, a habit, a choice that separates the outcome?
There's no question, and there's many published studies about the fact that positive patients are going to fare much better.
Wow.
So it's a common denominating factor. That's why for us it's so important to instill hope, because when you have hope, you're going to be positive. You're going to look for the good in things. Eleanor Roosevelt said something that was beautiful. Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow is a mystery. Today is a gift. That is why it's called the present. And so we want our patients to enjoy every day as much as if it was going to be the last, but with the hope that we're going to be able to survive for many, many years. And that is, our mind is extremely powerful, and we can use it for our benefit.
Emma, when I hear your story, I don't just see a cancer journey. I see a woman who lived in the UK, is now living in Australia, who traveled to Mexico to heal, 3 continents, 3 cultures, one deeply human decision. So, Emma, Dr. Contreras, let's talk about what it really means to seek healing across borders, languages, and cultures. Emma, for someone who's never left their home country, traveling abroad could be scary. For those unfamiliar with the concept of going to another country, what gave you the courage to get up and go?
Well, honestly, I just thought, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And if I want to live, I've got to get on that plane. And to me, living and seeking help and taking the leap of faith to get on that plane and go to Mexico, it takes courage. And I urge anybody that's thinking about it, just get on the plane. There's no need to keep being scared. Yes, I have traveled, but anyone that has never left their country, I know how daunting that can be. I mean, I was scared, and I've traveled over the other side of the world, and I was scared to do it. And I was scared at the airport, and I was scared on the plane. But I tell you what, it was the best thing I ever did. And I'm here today because of that leap of faith. And because I got on that flight, I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this happen. You have to believe in yourself, and you have to have positivity. And it's an adventure. Life is an adventure. Jump on the plane.
And Emma, Cultures Magazine defines an expatriate as someone who leaves their native country to live elsewhere, and a third culture adult, a TCA, as someone immersed in global locations after age 18. Do these identities resonate with you and your journey?
Look, I have moved countries. I guess it might have made it a little bit easier for me to jump on the plane and go. I can totally understand if somebody's never done that and left home. I had people looking at me, what are you doing? Going to Mexico? This is crazy. It's a big thing to do. But inside my heart, I knew it was the right thing to do. And I feel like if you look deep inside, you know what the right answer is. And if that calling is there, and you're even thinking about it, you're thinking about it, just go and do it because it was the best thing that I ever did. So you've just got to have faith and do it. And, I speak to people still now online. It's a big thing to do. I understand that. I understand. But just pack your suitcase, get on the flight, take the chance. I did it and
Yeah,
I'm
and
still here.
it's a very difficult decision, especially people that come from first world countries. And exactly how Emma says it, your greatest enemies are going to be the people that love you. Are you crazy? That's what just about every patient says. You're going to Mexico? You're in the States where the best medicine is ever. Well, all you have to do is look at the stats, and it's not the best for cancer. And it is a difficult decision more than the cultural, which is kind of scary. I don't know the language, and there are many things, but the most difficult hurdle is your family telling you that you're making the worst decision in your life. And so I understand that it's difficult. Like Emma made a decision. What you're offering me is something that I don't want. And so you have to look for something else. And again, what I mentioned before, you have to believe in it. And if you believe in it, then all of those adverse reactions from the people that love you and that want you to do better are going to be noise. You have to make the decision that is the best for you.
In relation of family members, my middle sister, when I got diagnosed, she lives in England, turned up 24 hours later in Australia at my front door. I've just been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And she never really gave me what she felt until I went. She said to me, why do you think I turned up in Australia 24 hours after you got diagnosed? I didn't think I was ever going to see you again. I thought you were dead. She said, I am so glad that you got on that plane and went and did what you believed in. Now, she didn't try and stop me. She didn't say, I don't think it's going to work. But when I went and came back, she then told me, I did not think it was going to work. But she didn't stop me from doing what I was going to do.
People like Emma that came to us fare much better than the ones that are brought, right? So we
Wow.
have some patients that where the family is convinced that the patient needs an alternative, but the patient doesn't want it, and they're brought and they're begrudgingly doing everything. In many instances, we're able to convert those patients. And when they see others and that, that this is not a gloom and doom place, many are converted, but many are not. And they usually do not fare well.
When I wanted to do something different from what my doctors were telling me, because the protocols I was on with them was killing me. I literally woke up one day and I was looking down on my body. My service dog refused to leave my side, and she looked at me like she was saying goodbye, and I felt like my soul had already left my body. And I prayed to God. First, I was in gratitude. Then I prayed to God, if you give me one more day, I'm going to figure out why I'm so sick, and I'm going to turn around and help other people. But that decision made my family and friends say, are you kidding? You're going to stop your medication? And I said, no, I'm not going to stop my medication, but I'm going to ask my doctors to slowly step me off this medication safely under their guidance. And my doctors pushed back and my family pushed back. And I said, listen, this is my body. I feel like this is what I should be doing. And I was right. Now I'm on 0 medications. And I have to tell you, I was afraid, but bravery is being afraid and doing it anyway because you think there's some benefit in it. And that's what I did. I stepped out on faith and I was right, because now I don't need a walker, a service dog, or a caregiver.
That's amazing,
So
Yes.
actually.
at Oasis of Hope, you healed, Emma, alongside patients from over 60 countries. What was it like to go through treatment with people from different countries with different nationalities and backgrounds and languages?
Well, first of all, now I have 1,000 new friends, which I love, who message me at all times of the day and night. I've made a beautiful friend in Nigeria. She's like one of my best friends now. She is the most beautiful person ever. She's been to Oasis twice with me. I've made friends with people all over the world. Sweden, some from England, my home country. I've sent a few people from Australia, America. There is a lot of Americans that go, so I love American people now. You're also positive and fun and quirky, and you're so welcoming. Honestly, my socials and my WhatsApp is 24/7 dinging from people around the world, and I love it. I love it. I've got more friends out of Australia now than I do in Australia.
Many cultures readers have spent a lifetime code switching between cultures, adapting to a new environment, reading unfamiliar rooms. Did any of those skills of being able to just make friends wherever you go make it easy to find 1,000 new friends? That's pretty incredible.
Look,
And I think that another thing that is very prevalent is when you find other people that actually understand you, that's going to open up the door, and the friendship is going to be much stronger than somebody that really doesn't know what you're going through. And
That
so when
lived
you find another
experience.
person that is going through what you're going, they'll be able to help you, and you are going to be able to help them because you're speaking the same language, right? When you speak to
Right.
somebody that never has been in touch with cancer, they really don't get it, how devastating that kind of information can be. And finding somebody else that understands you breaks all of the barriers. And that's why those friendships that you're making now are so strong, because you are making them
absolutely.
with people that are going through what you are going through. And if they're down, you are able to lift them up. And if you are down, they are able to lift you up. And I think that's so important in creating that community. And we've worked very hard at the Oasis of Hope to create such communities within our patients.
That's absolutely so true. We all sit there, people that bring their partners or family members with them, they don't understand what they're feeling or going through. And as a patient to patient, I can, someone can say, "Oh, I've been feeling this." "Oh, well, I felt that last week. It's totally normal," or "My headspace has been here." And we get each other. And I think that's where the friendship starts. Yes, I'm very bubbly and outgoing, but I think deep down, the actual friendships are about the dark days we can talk to each other that you would never tell your family member about or your partner because you don't want them to worry. If your head's in a different headspace, we talk about it. If you're feeling something or pains or headaches or aches, we always think that's, cancer getting us. And the other one's like, no, don't be silly. So we reassure each other. We egg each other on. We're all as a community. I have a WhatsApp group for every time I go to the clinic. I put all the people in that I meet. I have like 4 different WhatsApp groups now, and there's like 40 patients in each group, and we all chat daily to each other. Hey, how are you doing? When are you back? We've all become like family. It's beautiful. And it is because we all share the same journey.
That is so beautiful. And, Dr. Contreras, you earned your medical degree in Mexico, completed surgical oncology training in Vienna, Austria, trained in pathology at Harvard in the US, and now you lead a hospital in Tijuana, Mexico, treating patients from over 60 countries. And Cultures defines a third culture adult as someone immersed in global locations after age 18, and a cross-cultural kid as someone who meaningfully interacted with multiple cultures during their formative years. Do you identify with that?
Yes, and our culture is very warm in comparison to Americans, but more than the English, for instance. And we have people from all over the world. And I feel that's another asset as a culture that we bring. And that's why we don't have to do a lot of training for people to be nice and to be warm, because that's part of our culture. And
It's
most of the patients that come from abroad, they feel that. I think that's a major reason, again, for why everything comes together so that our results are better than in most oncological centers around the world. And so culture plays a major role. And so that's why patients, when they hear, "Are you going to Mexico? Are you crazy?" And when they come, Are you going to those quacks? They're just going to get your money and all of those things. We're a group of very well prepared doctors and nurses and nutritionists and everything. So out of the work that we do, and we try to provide the best service possible for our patients.
And your father built this hospital in 1963, and he was defying conventional medical models even back then and attracting people from around the world. So this is not new for your hospital. Was that cultural fluidity baked into the DNA of Oasis of Hope from the start?
Well, my father was the director of a major oncological center in Mexico City. And the reason he ended up working on his own is because he came up with the idea in the 50s that the reason for the failure was that doctors were just interested in the physical needs of their patients. And he said, the reason why we're failing is that we're not addressing the emotional and spiritual needs of the patients. We need to treat people as a whole. And that's why they coined the term holistic from my father works in the 50s. And so that's part of this warmth that we have, that we want to treat the whole person, not just the body. But again, it's part of the Mexican culture that we are really interested in other people and we love to be with other people. And so I think that's a plus that have as a culture. But we've had people from all over the world, and everybody has something to offer. And we've learned so many beautiful things from other cultures. And I think that this multicultural exposure has helped us also to be able to treat people better. Everybody has something beautiful in their culture. And so we try to absorb those cultural differences and give back.
And so, Dr. Contreras, what would you want the culturally fluid, globally mobile reader to know about advocating for their health when they don't fit neatly into one system or any one country's healthcare?
Well, I think that there are some disadvantages in countries that have, the one payer system like Canada. The hands of the doctors are so tight, the amount of resources are so limited that they do have a disadvantage. And then the timing, for instance, sometimes it takes them 6 months to do an x-ray.
Wow.
And so in a cancer patient where sometimes days make a difference, so they can have disadvantages that have nothing to do with the culture, but with the political system. So those people can be at a disadvantage. In Mexico, for instance, that we have socialized medicine as well, there's a lot of disadvantages, but the government is open to private practice. For instance, in England is the same. There is socialized medicine, which is very limited in many ways and very good in many other ways. But somebody that cannot wait can go to a private entity and be helped. In many countries, that is just not possible. And so those patients are at a big disadvantage where culture really has nothing to do. It's just a political system. But in general, we have learned a lot from cultures all over the world. We've treated patients from more than 60 different countries. And each one of those patients had taught us just wonderful things that have enriched our own culture.
And in the United States, we have a third party payer system, meaning you pay your insurance premiums and your doctor bills the insurance company. But the problem with that system is that your insurance company will allot a very limited amount of time for your doctor to spend with you, 7 to 15 minutes. So there's not a lot of time for educating you about nutrition and your mental health and exercise and supporting you emotionally and spiritually. So there are a lot of challenges in so many systems.
Definitely. And that's the most difficult. I think that the biggest hurdle that most patients from first world countries that come to Mexico is financial, because they're used to, well, my insurance company pays for this, but will not pay for that. And sometimes they make the decision to go into conventional medicine just because the insurance company will pay for it. Otherwise, it's out of pocket. And so it is complicated for people to make a decision to come to us. And so usually desperation is one of the biggest drivers of people coming to look for us, because it's life or death, and it's my life and I'm going to do whatever I can to keep on living. And so they make the sacrifice.
Dr. Contreras said it is desperation. And I wish that people that are looking at going, because I do talk to quite a few people on socials, and they've got a wedding to go to, or it's their sister's kid's birthday, or they've got a conference. And I'm like, cancer waits for nobody. If you're going, you can't keep waiting weeks and months. Time's ticking. I've had a few people that have been accepted by Oasis. They've then cancelled and gone on to a conference or a wedding or something, and the cancer's grown and they can no longer get to the clinic. So that's when desperation's kicking in. Like, you can't wait. Cancer waits for nobody. If you're thinking of going, you book and go. You do not wait. You do not hang around for a birthday party or a wedding. You come first before anything, and there's no postponing dates. Like, I feel for those people that I've had quite a few who have reached out to me saying, I could go, but now I can't go anymore. And I'm like, why did you wait 6 months? Why are you waiting? Cancer doesn't wait for anybody. There's no time. It is now or never.
Correct.
Dr. Contreras, is there anything you want to add to that about waiting?
Yeah. I mentioned before, there are windows of opportunity. And if you don't take that opportunity in that window, it's going to pass you by. And here we're talking about life and death decisions that are very important for you to make. And you have to weigh what's more important. One of the things that I tell the patients is, when you make a decision based on two questions. What is it that I want now? And what is it that I want most? And so that's going back to what Emma says, is this wedding as important as my life? Is this party? And it may be, it may be the wedding of your son, for instance. It may be then more important than your life. But if it's the wedding of a friend, so God is going to give us always a window of opportunity. And we have to make the correct choice at the correct time, because when the window of opportunity is gone, it's gone. And so Emma's right. Cancer doesn't wait for anybody. And so that's when you have to make a decision of that window of opportunity. If you're going to take it, yes or no, and it's now or never.
Well, Emma Victoria Johnson and Dr. Francisco Contreras, this has been a powerful and impactful episode. Thank you so much for this discussion. Emma, is there anything more you want to leave listeners with?
I just want to say that anybody out there that has been diagnosed recently, please do not be scared. Cancer is not a death sentence. You can turn this around. Have faith and hope, and please put yourself before everybody else with your decisions. And if you are seeking to look at anything else, I would highly recommend to go to Oasis of Hope, to Dr. Contreras, because like I said, I wouldn't be alive today if it wasn't for this wonderful man who saved my life. And I just want to give hope to everybody out there that's dealt with what I've dealt with, and just to know that there is another way to cure cancer.
That's beautiful. Dr. Contreras, what more do you want to leave listeners with?
Well, after that, it's kind of difficult to say anything, but I am convinced that God has everything under control, and that if you submit yourself to God and make your decisions based on that faith that God leads you to us, I'm convinced that everybody that comes to the Oasis of Hope is not by chance, but that they were led here. So if you're led to come, we are going to welcome you with open arms.
And Dr. Contreras, how can people find you?
Oasisofhope.com. Oasisofhope.com. You'll get all the information there. We provide a free consultation Zoom with one of our doctors to talk about your case, so we can help you and for you to make a decision. And we tell you if we are a good fit for you or not, if we can help you or not. We're going to be very open about that. So oasisofhope.com.
Thank you. And Emma Victoria Johnson, how can people connect with you?
You can connect with me on Instagram, Emma Victoria_J. I'm happy to answer any questions. My inbox is always open, and I always reply to every single message. So yes, if anyone's got any questions, fire away.
Wow, what a beautiful resource, Emma. Thank you so much. And Dr. Contreras, thank you so much for making your book available for free. I'll be sure to include that in the show description and all of your socials for both of you and websites. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Antoinette, thank you very much. God bless you. Bye, Emma. God bless
Fue un
you.
placer.
Every healing journey is a story. You are the author, and the choices you make enrich and determine your story details. Those whose journey includes Oasis of Hope tell stories of how they found a place that took them far beyond the limitations of conventional treatments. They experienced wraparound care that met their physical, emotional, and spiritual needs. They enjoyed the care given by one of the most competent, loving, and experienced multidisciplinary teams of health practitioners in the world. They met people from around the world on similar journeys, and they made friendships for life. They benefited from advanced, evidence-based therapies such as whole-body hyperthermia, high-dose 4 vitamin C, and the dendritic cell vaccine that boosted their immune systems, undermined cancer, and minimized negative side effects. They took treatments that improved their quality of life and helped them live longer.
That's why, for instance, we see on the knees that, it's darker. But they have a way of measuring that out. For instance, on this one, the contours was already going out. And how do I know that? Because I can see the kidneys.
They were empowered by an integrated education program, and they felt the power of prayer and daily devotions. They learned about growing organic produce on a rooftop garden, and they learned how to cook healing foods. They recaptured the joy of living and filled their days with laughter, smiles, and mutual encouragement. They chose the place that has garnered unmatchable clinical experience over the last 60 decades and keeps its patients at the center of everything they do. Oasis of Hope is at the heart of the stories of 100,000 people who came to us from more than 60 nations looking for hope and healing. Oasis of Hope, your healing partner for life. What will your story be?
The information in this podcast is not medical advice and should not be treated as such. Always consult your physician or healthcare professional before pursuing any health-related procedure or activity.